Good morning and welcome back to the Livingston Parish News Morning Show. My name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. If you're watching us live, appreciate you joining us. If you are listening to this later or watching it later at www.livingstonparishnews.com/podcast, there are audio and video versions there for free. Appreciate that as well. Thanks for joining us. Let's jump right into it. It is currently 51 degrees, 38 your overnight low. So we didn't get as much rain as expected, but the cold weather did get here. It will get up to about 70 degrees as your high and 52 is your low for Sunday. Rain Monday bringing it real low. Going to get an Arctic blast pretty early this year coming up next week. So it's going to get very cold during the week. A couple of times it might even dip below freezing into the 20s at night. So please keep that in mind with flowers, plants, outdoor pets, that sort of thing. It's going to get cold at night next week. I'm going to have a pretty pleasant couple of days here going into the weekend. Lots of sunshine tomorrow and Sunday. Your traffic today is actually quite nice. It was very interesting opening up, getting our traffic report this morning and having a whole lot of check marks and a whole lot of green. Some minor delays at Millerville heading into Baton Rouge on I-12 westbound. Some minor delays on Greenville Springs as you cross over 64. No delays on 64 at the moment heading into Central. Minor delays in Watson, Denham, and Walker as you pass by those high schools, especially on Burgess Road and the freshman high school in Walker at Burgess and 447. Otherwise, pretty regular delays, but nothing crazy this morning. It looks like it's going to be a smooth commute. Hope I didn't jinx it for anybody. Hope these things will continue to flow regularly here on Friday morning. No need to get stuck in traffic on your way to work. Yesterday, which would have been Thursday, November 7th, the school board superintendent, Joe Murphy, released a statement that said the school board has been quiet and discretionary up until this point because of the Attorney General's investigation. They will not make any statements until that information is released by the Attorney General and some depositions are made. So that's going to take some time. So they're going to remain probably pretty quiet on that. And it looks like Miss Cynthia Perkins is going to be following the same suit. Yesterday, a bit of musical courtrooms was played in the morning, as we discussed on the show. We went up there to cover it. She was moved to protective order court first. That information involves juveniles. The court was clear. We have no information on what went down in that courtroom. That was with Judge Jay Futrell. Later on in the morning, Cynthia Perkins did return down to courtroom 1 for a hearing in front of Judge Brenda Ricks, at which point her attorney, Mr. Spokes, he'll just be a Mr., requested a continuance until such time as without date, until such time as the AG's investigation is complete. So she and as you may or may not know, she and Dennis her husband were on very different court paths leading up to this point. Now it looks like they're about on the same track. Mr. Perkins's preliminary hearing will be on December 19th. Again, that's about 6 weeks from now, 5-6 weeks from now, whereas she was real quick. But now, as we know, there's a continuance without date, waiting for that AG's investigation to finish. And the AG is the Attorney General, in case you were curious. So as of right now, that's where the Cynthia Perkins and Dennis Perkins trials stand. Not a whole lot to update as of yesterday. Mostly everybody's kind of waiting for the Attorney General to drop out their last report. Texas Roadhouse on Monday, Veterans Day, will be offering free lunch. It's a specific set menu. It's a steak, 2 sides, your choice of drink, and a dessert from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. On Monday, November 11th. So please, if you are a veteran, either discharge papers, military ID, or Veterans Affairs ID will suffice to get you that free lunch. So thank you to Texas Roadhouse for offering a lunch for our veterans. Again, that's on Monday, November 11th at the Juban Crossing location, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Veterans eat for free. Early voting continues to roll today and tomorrow. You can vote from 8:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily. Currently up to about 9,800 early voters, according to the Registrar of Voters, Jared Andrews. There are several runoffs and couple of local elections. You're looking at the governor's race, which is Republican Eddie Rispone versus Democrat John Bel Edwards. Secretary of State, which is Republican Kyle Ardoin versus Democrat Gwen Collins Greenup. House seat 71, which is Republican Buddy Mincy Jr. versus Democrat Lori Calais. Parish Council District 6, both Republicans, Derek Babcock versus Gerald McMorris. Bessie, District 6, which is the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education. That would be Mr. Greg Spears, a Republican from Springfield, and Mr. Ronnie Morris, a Republican from Baton Rouge. And last but certainly not least, the three-parish race for the 21st Judicial District Court Judge, Division D. That would be two Republicans, Brian Abels versus Ernie Drake. That is a three-parish race between Livingston, St. Helena, and Tangipahoa. Will be interesting to see how that comes out. Again, early voting ends tomorrow, Saturday, November 9th, but it will run all day, 8:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. You can vote at the Denham Springs Walker Branch Library or at the Registrar of Voters office. There'll be a week break, and then, of course, the runoff election day official is November 16th. Now, that 9,800 folks, coming pretty close to passing the early voting set for the primary, which was at about 10,800. Only need about 1,000 more people. Might even surpass it today. So it'll be interesting to see how high that total gets of early voters. Thank you to those of you who went out and made your decision already. Early voting is pretty easy. Those of you who've tried it, spread the word. Let people know it's just easy, and you don't have to worry about it. You got 7 days. You find the good day for you. You go vote. So, and thank you for Jared Andrews, Clerk of Court Jason Harris, Giovanni Tyrov, the Director of the Library, and of course Secretary of State Kyle Ardoin for all agreeing and coming together to set up the satellite location at the Denham Springs Walker Branch Library. Home elevations and acquisitions continue to roll. We talked a little bit about this yesterday. They were approved last night at the Parish Council, so we're going to have even more and more of these coming out. As mentioned yesterday as well, FEMA is still very focused on the 3,700 homes in the parish. That does not include Denham and Walker, that were not inspected after the flood. And according to FEMA, they are in special flood hazard areas and should have been inspected. FEMA will be sending a team down probably sometime into 2020. Still not entirely sure how long it will be before they get here, but they want to go door to door with Mark Harrell, who is the Director of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness, and talk to those folks about what home acquisition or elevation is. Unfortunately, while some parish officials said that the FEMA cannot force them to raise or elevate their home, they don't have to. The parish has what's called a Flood Damage Prevention Ordinance, or FDPO, on the books, which they adopted as part of a post-flood deal, as part of participation in the National Flood Insurance Program, which requires that any home that is deemed substantially damaged, now there's some leeway there in the substantial damage designation, has to be raised or acquired. Now, substantial damage is 50% or more of the value of the home, not the land, just the home. Is if it costs 50% or more of that value to repair the home, then it is deemed substantially damaged and something has to happen to it. Again, there's some leeway in how things are priced and that sort of thing. But there are certain homes that, when the water hits the roof, you don't have a lot of leeway there. So there will be some people in those 3,700 that will end up having to enroll in this program as well. $10 million has already come down, $10 million has already been appropriated for this. It is important to note that when we're talking about funds coming from Washington, D.C., and we've seen this with things like Restore and the HUD Community Block Grant, and now with this kind of FEMA money, just because Congress appropriates it does not mean that it can be immediately spent. It is appropriated, and then I guess you can say whoever is spending it has to go through a checklist and get approval, in this case from FEMA, that they are doing what they're supposed to be doing, and then that money comes down and is spent. So there's a process even after that. But so far, $10 million has been appropriated. Both Walker and Denham getting about $1.5 million. The parish getting about 6 or 7 of that extra, and so that's a lot of homes. It depends. The cost of acquiring or elevating a home very much, of course, depends on the value of that home. for acquisition. For elevation, it depends on the scope of work. How big is the house? What's the layout? What's the engineering cost? Because what kind of land is it sitting on? Is it clay? Is it dirt? Is it sand, dirt mixture? What is it? So a lot of that goes into the cost, and it's hard to find an average. But we are, I say we, the news is kind of looking into, what's the average cost of these things? How do they flow? We're going to be talking with Quality Engineering in the coming days, who's done a lot of this hazard mitigation work as well as the parish. So keep an eye on that. School board had a short. One other thing, we will be talking to Mr. Tracy Girlinghouse at the last, who is the parish councilman of District 7. At the last parish council meeting, there was concern brought up about waivers being given for certain areas. Mr. Girlinghouse was behind waivers for specific instances where, they made sense. Maybe somebody got caught up in an old law, and the waiver was just the ability for them to be brought into the new law. He said there is no one-size-fits-all. He did say, however, that there's a lot of waivers getting on the agenda, so he was going to be looking into that. We're going to be talking to him later this morning about some of his concerns. School board was short, quick and easy. They discussed the new school scores. As we talked about yesterday, the schools here are improving. You can read about that at www.livingstonparishnews.com/news. They also talked about some capital outlay for the upcoming school year. Pardon me. And then they adjourned. So we were unable to make it. Mr. David Gray had a family emergency, but we did speak to a couple of school board members after to get some confirmation and also some information. We'll be waiting on the minutes of that to come out to confirm, and then we'll be writing some things up about what they discussed in terms of school scores. Football, Friday, football. It's the final day of the regular season. Got a couple of folks looking to secure a good playoff spot. A few folks playing for a little bit more. Walker's traveling up to Zachary. As Mr. William Weathers has dubbed it, the battle for the crown. Walker, who started off 0-2, is totally just come out the gate. You're looking at a team facing a perennial state champion contender, and they're going to be going up there to their house. So Coach Chad Mahaffey said, play the game, not the name. Almost got that backwards. So play the game, not the name. And somebody needs to tell that to LSU as well this weekend. So it will be interesting to see how they continue to roll the success up there in the Bronco territory, looking for a district title at this point. If they win, they are 4-5A district champs. Should be interesting. It's going to be a good game. Live Oak faces Central. They are also looking to secure a more Midland playoff spot. Right now they're in the mid-20s, would like to be in those low 20s, high teens. They face Central. Last year Central jumped all over them early and cruised to a win. This year they're at home looking for a single season record for wins at 7. A lot to play for, senior night, so good luck to the Eagles. It's going to be a big game. I mean, Central has some sort of unspoken rivalry with 3-5, especially Denham and Live Oak here in Livingston Parish, so that should be a good game. Albany faces Hannon. That's looking for a good playoff spot. Again, good playoff seeding because they're looking for their first playoff win in football. So that they will be at Hannon, which is an interesting atmosphere, so keep an eye out on them. Springfield plays Northlake Christian. This is actually for a playoff spot, according to Coach Ryan Surpass. There's a good chance that a loss here pushes them out of the playoffs completely, even though they are right now 4-5. They'll end up at 5-5. I know a lot of you are like, but they've made the playoffs at things like 2-8. Strength of schedule played a role this year. Needed to win some of those other outside of district games, and of course the district being so small now in football, literally three teams. So you're talking about Springfield, 4. Springfield, Northlake Christian, St. Thomas Aquinas, and Pope John Paul. So not a whole lot of room in district there for losses. Not a whole lot of room after, and of course they had that loss to St. Thomas Aquinas last week, so that was tough. That was tough on them. So going to be looking to bounce back and secure that playoff spot. This will be Denham's final game under head coach Bill Conades. As soon as this is over, Principal Wes Howard will be on the move, looking for a new football coach. They will not make the playoffs. They're too far out at currently 1-8. They looking to make it 2-8, go out on a big one, but they've got Scotlandville, who is explosive and very good at football. So wish the Jackets luck on the road at Scotlandville this evening. So those are your 5 parish matchups. I myself will be up at Live Oak and Central. So if you're out there, give me a wave. I'll be on the sideline shooting photos. Rounding it out again with your weather, remember it is 51 degrees. It's going to be 38 tonight. So that's a good reminder for those of you who are going to look at football games. It's going to be cold. It's going to be cold tonight. Dress warmly. Going to get up to 70 and 52 as your high and low by Sunday. Going to be very sunny over the weekend. However, going to have some showers Monday. And I'm sure you've seen some of those graphics online looking at an Arctic blast already this year. Going to get very cold starting next week, probably Monday evening. Please remember that for plants, flowers, outdoor pets, it's going to get down near freezing and below freezing. They're looking at Tuesday night somewhere around 29. So please keep that in mind as we move into, I guess we're getting an early winter. I don't know. We all know it's probably going to get hot at Thanksgiving. So we'll see, but it's going to be cold next week. Keep that in mind. Minor delays, again, it's still looking relatively clear on your drive. Some minor delays at Millerville and I-12 westbound. Delays on Greenville Springs if you take that route, 64 going into Central, but no delays on 64. Still looking at some delays as folks are funneling out of Denham, Watson, and Walker. Minor delays at 447 and Arnold Road. Again, my name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. Appreciate you joining us this morning for the Livingston Parish News Morning Show. As mentioned, you can catch these shows online at www.livingstonparishnews.com/podcast. They are free. We have audio and video versions there. We also have long-form podcasts there as well. We did the school construction on Wednesday. We did the football show yesterday. And today I'm going to be recording about our feature for Thursday, which is buses, and how the school board had to contend with some turnover, get some bus slots filled, and are now filling out a healthy roster of full-time and part-time bus drivers. So keep an eye on that. We are on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. We are also online, www.livingstonparishnews.com, as mentioned several times, and we are once a week in print on Thursdays. Thanks again for joining us. We appreciate you being here. We hope you have a great weekend. Good luck to our football teams in contest tonight, and we hope, please, please, please try to stay warm over the weekend, and we will be back in the booth Monday to give you the report from this lovely weekend. Have a great day.